Hey friends, let's talk about type 4s and anger. Type 4s are the feelers of the Enneagram. They feel all the emotions, the highs and the lows, and they're usually pretty comfortable with even some of the emotions that most of us are not, like melancholy and sadness, even like those depressive, like really deep, dark feelings. But anger is not a feeling that most 4s feel comfortable with. One of my friends who's a 4 said, it's hard to make anger beautiful. It's easy to make melancholy beautiful. It's easy to make longing beautiful. It's hard to make anger beautiful. So 4s tend to not feel very comfortable in anger. When they do finally get to that point where they're angry, it's fast and it's hard and it's intense, right? And any emotion a 4 feels is going to be intense. And so when there's this outward emotion like anger, it's going to be intense and it's going to look kind of surprising and shocking to most people around the 4, because most emotions that a 4 feels, they feel them deeply, but they feel them inward. Anger is not an inward emotion. It is an outward emotion. So we don't always see, if you kind of think of have you seen those pictures of the iceberg and you only see the tip and then underneath there's like this giant mass? Well, that's how it is with 4s and their emotions, except for anger. There's the same amount of emotion. It's just flipped out and all that anger is coming out. Because it's an outward emotion, we get to actually see the depth that's there all the time for 4s, but it's now all out. And so that can be jarring for people who are around 4s. That can be jarring for the 4 themselves. They might be like, who am I and what did I just do? And where did I access that kind of rage and explosion? And as I've been speaking in the previous videos, it's not bad to feel anger. It's not a problem to feel anger. You're not too much if you feel anger. 4s can struggle with feeling too much. You're not too much to feel anger. And I know anger is kind of one of those ordinary emotions that everybody feels, but you've got to feel it sometimes. And it's okay if you let it out. It's okay if you let it out in all of its depth. One way, though, that you can start processing it a little bit more mindfully would be to implement some of the exercises that I've put in the previous videos, things like moving your body, crying. It's funny, some 4s, I feel like there's 2 different kinds of 4s. There's the criers who cry at everything, and there are the ones who cry at like nothing they cry at. And so if you are a nothing crier, I would encourage you to, obviously don't force the tears, because I would never, ever ask a 4 to be inauthentic and force tears. Never. But don't suppress them either. If you are feeling like, when you feel like it's right there, that emotion, those tears, you can kind of feel it in your throat, surrender to that anger. Let the tears come out. Move your body. 4s being in the doing repressed stance, that they are the withdrawing, so they're doing repressed, and all that means is that doing is not always an instinctual. They're not always connected to their bodies, because 4s can tend to, when things get rough, 4s don't go to anger, they go to imagination. They can imagine another world. They can disappear into their minds. They can disappear into their inner world. And so what that does, though, is it just creates like a distance between the here and now and between the body. So when 4s finally do get to that point where they feel anger, where imagination is no longer sufficing and all that anger is pouring out, getting into your body, if you're a 4, is so important. Again, doing hard workouts, doing high impact, doing, screaming, like really feeling your body. And if you're a 4, not just feeling it, but noticing the feelings, noticing, I kind of talked about this with the 3s, noticing where in your body you feel tension. Maybe it's here, maybe it's in your stomach, maybe it's in your temple, like sometimes they're in your eyes, you can kind of hold it. Sometimes you can get vision problems, sometimes you can get heart palpitations, and all of this is anger and energy that is trapped in your body. And because you're doing repress and you typically just imagine another world, another place, another time, you forget that it's still there. And then it just holds, it just stays. So be aware of where in your body you are feeling this energy, this anger, this emotion. Doing Pigeon Pose is amazing. If you've ever done yoga or any type of stretching, really, and you do Pigeon Pose, you kind of have one leg bent and then another leg shooting straight back. in our hips. We can hold a lot of stress and tension. Just notice every body is different. Take notice of your body, because fours tend to be disconnected from their bodies. Take notice and really slow down and breathe into that and recognize, okay, this is what's happening. I am experiencing anger. I am going to honor it. I'm not going to rush through it. I am going to feel it, feel my body, process it, and move forward. And then, as with every type, part of moving forward is recognizing what triggered the anger. So for fours, it can often be if someone is maybe trying to force them to be inauthentic, or if someone is being inauthentic to them, whether it's someone lying to you or misleading you. A lot of that revolves around my identity and my safety and what's real and what's not. What can I trust and what can I not trust? And not feeling like I have the power over my identity, over myself, over who I can trust. So start getting curious. As I've said this with every single type, start getting curious over what is triggering that anger. And then once you've kind of physically processed it, it's time to reaffirm truth. It's time to take back your power. It's time to sit in what you know to be true. And for fours, oftentimes that's going to mean saying, I am not flawed. I am not broken. I am whole right here, right now. And I have every right. I have every possibility to be happy, to have an amazing life. I don't need to be envious of others, because I know that right here and right now there is goodness. To notice the goodness is the fight for fours, to sit in that and to believe they are worthy of that. So I'm not saying that's what's going to be the healing message for you every time you get angry, but that may be where you want to check. It may be a pattern that you want to check into when you are feeling angry and you're not quite sure why, or you don't know the deeper layers. Oftentimes it's easy to see what's at the surface. And fours, I know you love some deeper layers. So let's go into some deeper layers and see what messaging are we not believing, what's triggering our identity or lack thereof, and where can we affirm truth.